Who are you? Why are you doing this?
You're the great detective. Figure it out.
These videos are not for children. If you're a children, then piss off.
Hey there, it's me, your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso. And this movie confused me a lot as a child. Batman Mystery of the Batwoman was a complete mystery to me growing up. First off, this movie is tied into the new Batman Adventures, which of course means that it's also tied into my beloved Batman the Animated Series and the world that surrounds those two shows. But this feature came out in 2003, several years after Batman Beyond had hit the scene, and even after his own solo outing against the Joker. So to see the continuity suddenly go backward for a one-off movie was kinda head-scratching. I mean, granted, the Justice League show was airing around the time, and that took place way before Batman Beyond, starring a very un-Terry McGinnis-like Bruce Wayne, but I was under the impression that that show was the exception, that we were gonna build toward the future. I was expecting to see more Batman Beyond movies, not more pre-Beyond Batman movies. Not that I was exactly complaining, because this is still my favorite Batman. Sorry, Terry, still love you though. But then add on top of all of that this film was introducing a brand new member of the Bat family, and my head was about to explode. Who was this character? Why have we never heard about her after this event? There was plenty of time where she could have been at least name-dropped somewhere along the way. Was she just not important enough to bring up? And if she wasn't important enough for a passing mention later in life, then why would I want to sit down and watch a whole-ass movie dedicated to the mystery that surrounds her? These were the thoughts that ran through my head at the time. Either way, I wasn't about to look a gift horse in the mouth. More Batman is more Batman, and I'm here for more Batman. So despite my initial confusion, I was mostly really excited for this. And then I finally watched it and, that was a movie. For sure. I mean, that you can't take that away from it. It's definitely a movie. Mystery of the Batwoman is exactly what it sounds like. There's a new winged vigilante taking to the streets and the skies of Gotham City. Only problem is, she wasn't sanctioned by the Dark Knight. She's more of a freelance solo crime fighter, who just so happens to also have an affinity for bats. In terms of the Batwoman look, it's fine enough, I guess. I mean, looking back on it now, I don't hate it, but it does sort of feel a little bit underwhelming. If you're introducing a new major character this late in the game, you would think that they would be a spectacular addition. You know, like all around, a complete package here. We're talking about from characterization to appearance. But not so much. The plain silver suit with a red bat logo just wasn't really doing it for me. I hated it as a kid, but that hatred has now boiled down to being content with it as an adult. It wouldn't have been my first choice, but it's definitely not the worst design I've seen on the series. I am, however, a fan of the little glider Batwoman rides on. It's different and a fun addition to the mythos. Though considering when this movie was made, I'm gonna guess that the team was more than a little bit inspired by the Spider-Man movie that came out a few years before.
Think about it!
Mystery of the Batwoman introduces us to 3 brand new female characters. New to the viewers and also new to Gotham City. This is of course because the reveal is that one of these women are the new masked vigilante. And if you haven't watched this movie yet, and spoilers would completely destroy your desire to see this, I'd take a break here. So why don't you go watch it and come back here when your hour and 22 is up. Okay, the rest of us will continue. Like I said, this movie introduces you to 3 brand new female characters, in an obvious attempt to get you to guess who. Because, you know, it's a mystery. Clearly, one of these 3 women is Batwoman, and the other 2 are red herrings. Or at least that's what you would be forgiven for thinking. Because as it turns out, this movie pulls a fast one on you, and tells you all 3 of them are actually Batwoman. This shocked the hell out of me as a kid. When I first watched this, I was almost entirely sure it was this chick. But then like 2 scenes later, I was like, this one. And then a scene after where that was debunked, I was like, it's gotta be this one, right? They threw me for a loop. I usually get these things, even at a young age, and I did not see this one coming. The movie plays with your mind like that. The eventual reveal that it was all 3 women working together does make sense, and I do like that this movie managed to get one over on me, doing so by thinking outside of the trope box. But it also does kind of feel like a little bit of a cheap trick. It worked, and I'm gonna give it a pass, but you only get one, so don't try this again, because I will be far less forgiving. The Troublesome Trio consists of Sonia, Rocky, and Kathy. And if there's one big positive that this movie has, it's that all three are played pretty well by their voice actresses. And that's in spite of one of them being played by Kelly Ripa. Ripa plays Roxy, minus the Rocket, who is a highly intelligent doctor, and also a little bit of a klutz. It's because of her lack of coordination and cool that she's genuinely not thought of as a possibility. But as time goes on, it becomes clear that she's more than just your standard garden variety computer geek. She can also defend herself because she's well trained in hand-to-hand combat. It's also actually her technology that Batwoman, or should I say, the Batwomen, use on their missions. Her motivation comes from her love of her boyfriend, who is now doing time after being framed by the Penguin. She dons the cowl with the hopes that one day she could find evidence that would set her man free. Next in line is Kathy Duquesne, whose name is oddly similar to the original Batwoman, Kathy Kane, and also similar to the later Batwoman, Kate Kane, who is not the same character despite having very similar names. They're also not related either. Kathy is the wild child of the bunch, the loose cannon, the wild card, if you will. Being the daughter of a wealthy mob boss, she provided the funds for the Batwoman initiative. Kathy denounces her father's business after a bullet meant for him took the life of her mother. She complied with the scheme in an effort to get back at her father. Lastly is Sonia Alcanya, which I may be saying wrong because I suck, so in advance I'm sorry. She was the brains behind the whole Batwoman operation. She's attributed by Batman as being the will to make everything happen, which I would think is fairly accurate. She does what she does to avenge her family's business that was ruined by Rupert Thorne. Like the rest of the movie, the character of Sonia is also deeply confusing to me, because this character replaces Renee Montoya as being Detective Bullock's new partner, but she also just replaces Renee Montoya. This is like Diet Renee. They have similar attitudes and personalities and even wear similar clothing. If I was shown this character model without any context, I would just assume that she was a redesign of Montoya. It seems so pointless to have replaced one established character with an unestablished character that is basically her doppelganger. The only reason I can think of to make sense of all this is that this character was brought in because the writers didn't want to make Renee Batwoman. Which, by the way, I think would have actually been dope. Do you have any idea how much more I'd care about this character if underneath the mask she was secretly already a name on the show? I would care about this significantly more. Hell, if the twist was that Renee Montoya was Batwoman, I think it would have completely changed my outlook on this whole movie. I would have never seen something like that coming. Take me to that alternate universe where that's a reality. Anyway, there's nothing bad about Sonia. I like the character, and I like the actress's performance behind the character, but I mostly find her to be a tired attempt at recreating a character that she's supposed to be replacing. Which, ironically enough, is also how I kind of feel about Batwoman in this. It's already been done, and it's been done better. This whole movie just feels like a tired rehash of the original Batgirl arc. A female outsider who takes the Bat name in ears, and then takes to the streets to stop wrongdoers? Yeah, that's Batgirl. That is literally just Batgirl. The show already did this, and it was better when they did. I mean, granted, that arc didn't have a great whodunit like this movie tries to do, but it's still pretty much the same thing. The movie does at least attempt to address this by having Batgirl call in from college and question it. And I give the movie points for being a little bit self-aware, but I'm also immediately deducting points because this movie, to my knowledge, is the first to really canonize the Batgirl-Batman relationship, having Barbara very blatantly call in to flirt with the Caped Crusader and try and make a pass at him. Yeah, so thanks for that lovely reminder of something I didn't want to be reminded of. You know, I like to go back and watch these things, but there's certain aspects here and there that I like to act like didn't happen, and this is all of them. And I know I said a lot of negative things, but make no mistake, this movie does have some solid qualities to it. The mystery angle allows Batman to play detective, which is something missing in a lot of Batman outings. You'd think the character who's called the world's greatest detective would have a lot of detective work, but you'd be surprised how often people forget about that in lieu of Batman punching somebody until he bleeds. The characters are very well betrayed as always, and the new additions fit in well with the rest of the extended universe. They fit in so well that it's kinda disappointing that we never get any kind of an update on any of them. And most importantly, the inclusion and emphasis put on Penguin and Rupert Thorne is pretty nice, especially considering that the two of them would be used considerably less over time as the series went on, with Penguin only being used in a handful of appearances following the new Batman adventures, and Rupert Thorne never even made it to that new series following the end of the original run. This is actually his first and only appearance in the later continuity. Hence why the character here is slightly redesigned to better fit in with the new animation style. And in terms of soundtrack, this movie's got it. That one song used in the Iceberg Lounge is an extreme earworm. It gets stuck in my head every time I rewatch it, and then it stays in there for a few days after. I think Kathy's relationship with her father is definitely a highlight. It's like watching young resentment freeze over and having understanding and compassion thaw over an icy relationship. I like that despite being a mob boss and despite having his daughter turn against him, Carlton still saves her, showing that he's a man before he's a bad guy. He's still a human being, and his bad affiliations don't mean nearly as much as the love he has for his family. That's kind of beautiful. This plot point isn't harped on incredibly, and the little screen time we get of it really feels like the perfect amount. The movie doesn't shove the narrative thread down your throat, it just plays it out in passing. It's perfectly done, as too much emphasis on this would probably be a little bit less compelling and ultimately feel like overkill, only managing to weigh this plot down. But most importantly, this movie gave us this moment.
Somebody in here?
Something wrong?
Nope.
And come on, that's just perfect. I love it. When all is said and done, Kathy's father goes to prison, but their relationship is mended. While Roxy's boyfriend is released due to evidence Batman hands over. Sonia is found out and leaves the station, and Bruce pursues Kathy because, let's face it, this movie really betrayed her as a second-rate Catwoman, so that makes sense. And ultimately, this is yet another Batman movie where Batman really isn't the focal point. He's just the character that the plot plays out in front of. So overall, I don't think Mystery of the Batwoman is bad, but it does border on unnecessary. It's weird to me that the creators decided to hop in their metaphoric DeLorean and go back in the timeline to make this, when it doesn't really have any effect on the events that came before or after it. It ultimately feels like unneeded fluff and filler for the larger continuity, and I don't think it really did anybody any favors. This was fine as it is, I guess, but it didn't really add anything to the world at large. I definitely don't feel like this was a story that just needed to be told. This movie really didn't need to be tied into this continuity. And honestly, I don't even know that it needed to exist at all. Look, all I'm saying is that maybe there's a reason the other two films in this lineup are included in my Blu-ray complete series, and yet Mystery of the Batwoman is mysteriously missing. I want to once again emphasize that this is not bad, but it's also nowhere near as good as the other movies in its canon. In terms of quality, I would say that this is definitely on the lower end of the original DCAU. But to be fair, this is a historically great continuity that we're talking about here. I would definitely recommend you checking this out yourself, maybe giving your own take. I can imagine other people finding this movie more entertaining than I did. I guess I'd recommend this movie, but I wouldn't highly recommend this movie. So if you haven't already, go check it out and let me know what you thought. In the meantime, if you like this video and want to see more content of Batman the Animated Series, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying... With that being said, I was your least favorite YouTuber, Infuso, and I thank you for watching. Hope to see you in the next one.
I am vengeance. I am the night, and that was Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.